Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today we're going to go over all of the books I read in February. So this month I read 14 books. I don't know how I did that. There's only 28 days in the month, so basically I read one book every other day. I would say it was a great reading month. The beginning of the month feels like so long ago, but let's just get into me talking about all the books I read this month. So I started off the month reading Set on You because I really wanted to read X's and O's. So Set on You is about a fitness influencer, Crystal, and a firefighter, Scotty. So they meet at the gym because Scotty tries to steal Crystal's squat rack and then she gets all upset about it, and then they run into each other at the gym and Scotty keeps annoying her and all that. It was really cheesy at times, which I didn't really care for, but it was fine. Like, it didn't bother me too much. It was still cute. They meet outside of the gym as well, and it was a shock to both of them. It was cute, and there was this, huge grand gesture at the end, which I thought was really great. But I really just wanted to read that book so I could get on to the next book, which is about Crystal's sister. So X's and O's is about Tara, and Tara is a book influencer. Tara is a huge romantic, loves reading romance books, talked a lot about tropes in this book, and she wanted to get her own second chance romance by going back and going through all the lists of her old ex-boyfriends and trying to rekindle any relationship with them. And she enlists the help of her new roommate and Scotty's firefighter friend, Trevor. Trevor is not a relationship guy, like that sort of thing, no commitment. So total opposite of Tara and what Tara wants. The whole book is from Tara's perspective, but I feel like you could just tell through Trevor's actions that he was falling for Tara, even though he was like a little bit scared and stuff. That was the feeling I got. Trevor was a very closed off guy, had a lot of baggage, and so I thought he had really great character development throughout the book. Tara at times with like being so into romance, it was a little much. But I thought it was really cute that Trevor was helping her on this quest to find her true love and second chance romance trope and everything like that. And I did like this one better than the first one, like I was expecting to. They're just cute, fun little rom-com reads. Then I started reading the Dreamland Billionaire series. I read The Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, and The Final Offer. Last year I read The Fine Print and Terms and Conditions, but The Final Offer just came out in January. So I kind of wanted to reread the first two books so I could get back into that world. I feel like that helps me really appreciate the third book more, just to jog my memory a little bit. The whole Dreamland Billionaire series, if you don't know, is about three brothers, and their grandfather was basically Walt Disney. Had this huge empire where there's a theme park and then kind of branched off. Just think Disney and Disneyland, but like Dreamland in this world. So their grandfather dies, and in his will he leaves each of his grandsons this task to get their inheritance. So the first book is about Rowan, and his task that he has to complete is to do a renovation at Dreamland and manage the park. And there he meets Zara, who works at Dreamland. They are very much so opposites. Like, she is sunshine, he is grumpy and broody. You get introduced to the other brothers and other characters. Super cute book, loved it. The character development that Rowan has, and like he starts caring more about people. I really enjoyed this book, and obviously I read it again. And then so after that, I read the second book, Terms and Conditions, another reread here. So this book is about Iris and Declan. Declan is the eldest of the grandsons, and his task to become CEO of the whole empire. He has to marry and have an heir. So he has to get married and then have a child. And so he's having his assistant Iris set up this arranged marriage for him, vetting different girls to become his wife. And it is their engagement party night. The girl who got chosen and signed a contract or whatever backs out, and so Iris steps in and fills that role. And so it's marriage of convenience or arranged marriage of sorts. They end up moving in together, so it's a little bit of forced proximity. And Declan is even more grumpy than Rowan was, but it's super cute because Declan will do anything for Iris, and then Iris's best friend is Declan and Rowan's youngest brother, Cal. In Cal's book, The Final Offer, you get hinted throughout the other books to who Cal's love interest is going to be, which is Lana. In the first two books, like, Lana gets mentioned a couple times and Cal is super touchy on that subject. So in The Final Offer, it is definitely the longest book in the series, but I think it was so worth the read. Definitely the heaviest book because Cal struggles with addiction and alcohol, so definitely a trigger warning. This book is childhood friends to lovers to strangers to kind of enemies, I guess, to lovers. So for Cal to get his inheritance, he has to sell their lake house, their family lake house that they would spend summers at, but he doesn't know that Lana's name is also on the deed and that she currently lives there with a child. So you also get single parent trope. It's a small town at a lake house, Cal coming in with his problems and the way he left Lana in the past and how that hurt her and like she never wanted to see him again. This book really tugged at the heartstrings, but I thought it wrapped up everything very, very nicely with the whole family. Also, like, the ending of the book with the three brothers coming back together, the brotherly bond that they have and wanting to support each other even though if they get frustrated with each other and stuff. I absolutely loved this book and the whole series and just like this world. And I loved how all the men ended up with such strong women in their lives and like they're all kind of like take no shit kind of women and made the men better. One thing though is my spines don't match. The first two books do, and the third one the spine doesn't match and it kind of drives me nuts, but I will look past that. Okay, so next I listened to an audiobook. Two Can Keep a Secret. I always like to pick like one or two audiobooks a month that I listen to like while I'm driving or I'm on walks or something like that. So this book is about two twins. Their mother gets sent to rehab, so they move in with their next of kin, which is their grandma. They're moving back to where their mother grew up into their grandmother's house. And Ellery, who's the main character here, she is obsessed with thrillers and mystery novels, and this town has a lot of secrets in it. Their aunt, who is their mother's twin, went missing their senior year of high school after their homecoming dance. And then years later, another girl went missing and died, which was about 2 years ago from present day. And so now that the twins are in town and they're starting school and meeting everyone, weird things start happening revolving homecoming. Ellery, who just moved to town, gets on the homecoming court. Then all the homecoming princesses start getting threats that relate to the previous girl's death. Ellery kind of snooping around, trying to figure out secrets and what's suspicious and whatever. She is trying to figure out what happened and trying to also figure out what happened to her aunt as well. This was a good book, like kind of kept me on my toes a little bit. There were some things I didn't see coming, but then there was this like one really big thing that I was like, oh, I think that was supposed to happen. It just made sense and turns out I was right. So I was pretty proud of myself for that. It was a very entertaining read to listen to. Then I read 7 Days in June, which if you haven't already, you could check out my blind dates video. I talked more about that there, but this is a second chance romance about two authors who met when they were in high school, and now it's 15 years later. They reconnect at a literary event, and Eva is a single mother now, and Shane comes back into her life. Eva wants to know why Shane disappeared 15 years ago when they were in high school and just never spoke to her again. I thought it was great character development. Both the characters are very mature. I thought the ending was absolutely great and the epilogue was just perfect. Also in the blind dates video, I read One True Loves. So in this book, you have Emma who gets engaged and married to her high school sweetheart. And then the day before they're gonna celebrate their 1-year wedding anniversary, Jesse goes missing and his helicopter that he was on crashes and no one could find him. So he is presumed dead. So it's about 3.5 years later. Emma is engaged to a different man, Sam, and Jesse calls her and says, hey, I'm coming home to you. That's on the back of the book. It's also like the first sentence of the book. If you want more of my thoughts on this, check out my blind dates video. Tugged at my heartstrings, this book did. It's just like all the decisions you have to make, what is right, what is wrong, am I doing what's right for myself, or am I doing what's right based on other people? Just like, are you living the life you want to live? It is so windy outside, so I apologize if you can hear that. Next, I read A Not So Meet Cute, which is another book that was a reread, but the third book in the series came out also in January. So same thing for the Dreamland Billionaire series. I wanted to reread the first two books so I could kind of get back into that world. Also, another billionaire romance trilogy, which I absolutely love. These books are pretty spicy, but very entertaining. It's dual POV, and so each book is about a different brother. So the first book is Huxley and Lottie, and Huxley and his brothers own this like real estate empire in LA. Huxley makes up this lie that he is engaged to a pregnant woman when he is absolutely single, and Lottie loses her job and sets out to find a rich husband. So they run into each other on the sidewalk outside of Huxley's home. They both tell each other, hey, I'm looking for a rich husband. Hey, I need a fake fiance. And they strike up this deal to help each other out. So Lottie ends up moving in with Huxley to pull off this ruse. So it's forced proximity. Like, Huxley's also super grumpy and won't open up to Lottie. And so Lottie's having second thoughts about this whole like arranged plot and like, is this going to work? It's a super quick read. Megan Quinn does a great job, I think, of writing the banter and the wit. You also get the sibling dynamic between Huxley and his brothers, which is so entertaining. But you also get Lottie and her sister Kelsey and them building a business together and just how close they are as sisters. I loved. The next book, So Not Meant to Be, is about Kelsey, which is Lottie's sister, and JP, one of Huxley's brothers. So this is a workplace romance. The business that Kelsey and Lottie have together gets hired by Huxley and his brothers' real estate company. So it's a workplace romance, and JP and Kelsey have to go together on this work trip to San Francisco for 2 weeks. So they're both staying in this penthouse in San Francisco, so it's another forced proximity here. In the first book, you get JP's initial reaction to Kelsey and how he's like, oh my god, like, she's so hot, I love her, like, just interested from the beginning with Kelsey. And Kelsey's trying to stay professional. I just want to be your friend, like, this isn't going to be anything. I know you're like a woman's man. So it's definitely a boy falls first in this. I relate a lot to Kelsey in this book, and like, she has a lot of insecurities. On the flip side, I think JP is my favorite Kane brother because he was just so funny. And like, if you've read this book, The Pigeon, that cracks me up because it is just so like goofy. I don't know. Also, Kelsey, there's this part in the book where she's trying to guess JP's name, like what JP stands for. Thought that was like such a sweet part of the book too. So then after that, we're wrapping it up with the third book, A Long Time Coming, which is about Breaker and his best friend Leah. Breaker and Leah met in college, so they are longtime best friends. It's been about a decade. Leah tells Breaker that she's getting engaged to her boyfriend that she's been dating for about a year now. They've been strictly platonic best friends since college. Like, nothing has happened between them. They live next door to each other. They tell each other practically everything. Breaker doesn't realize he has feelings for his best friend until she is in the midst of planning her wedding, because he is her best man of honor or whatever. And so he's helping her doing all this wedding planning stuff, and he doesn't realize his feelings for her until then. So then he's trying to prove to Leah that he is the one for her and like they should be together, trying to get both of them out of the mindset of like, we can be more than friends. Also throughout the book, like, you get text messages between Breaker and his brothers and Breaker and Leah. It's like that throughout all the books, is the little text messages between, which I think is so cute, helps with the brother dynamic, and also like really propels the story. I also read like the super extended epilogue for the books that kind of wraps up all three books at the end. So you get like all three brothers' perspectives for in that extended epilogue. And I love like the family aspect of this book. I thought was so cute. So then I read By a Thread by Lucy Score, and I've heard people say that this is really good. It is a workplace romance, grumpy boss and an employee. You have Dominic, who works for a magazine that his mother is like the CEO of, and so Dominic is the creative director. They're kind of cleaning up this mess that his father created, and he's meeting his mother at this pizza shop where Allie works, and Dominic is so grumpy and like irritable, he gets Allie fired. So then Dominic's mom offers Allie a job at the magazine office. Then Dominic like cannot stop thinking about Allie. It was a good story. I like wasn't that into it. I kept wanting to DNF it, but I had put like, it's a long book, and at that point I had put so much time into it. I was like, well, I might as well finish. I had like a couple hundred pages left or something like that. So I was like, I might as well finish, but it just didn't like totally grip me. I was just like, oh, this is like good but not great, like it's okay. I was a little annoyed that Dominic was having like all these daddy issues, even though like they had said a couple times like, oh, like we're not a family that talks about our feelings. But I was like, you're in your 40s, go to therapy. Like, I don't know, I was just a little irritated on that front. I did like that it's dual POV. I love getting both perspectives of the character and getting in the guy's mind and then like the girl's mind and just like seeing what happened. I felt like, you know, since it was about an older couple, like them being in their late 30s and 40s, I did like how they went about things a little bit more maturely, especially with it being in the workplace. Like, you know, they're trying to be professional about things. So I did like that. But then at the end, like it's talking about like some different characters and like, oh, like you need to go talk to blah 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 and blah 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 about like secrets that were kept. And I'm like, okay, but we never fit, like as a reader, I was like, what were those secrets? Like what was said? Like this book is already so long, like might as well add like 5 more pages and tell us what those secrets were, you know? I feel like I didn't get all the answers that I wanted from the book, but it was so long. I'm like, where are those answers, you know? So after I read that, I really needed a quick palate cleanser, something easy, sweet, cute, not over 400 pages, definitely. So I read The Valentine Inn that I found on Kindle Unlimited. It's by Jennifer Peel. I've read a couple of her books before, and they're just like fun, lighthearted, quick, easy reads. There's no spice in them. I think it was like just under 300 pages, so I read it pretty quick. So The Valentine Inn is about Charlotte and Drake. You start off with the prologue, which is 6 years prior to where the rest of the story takes place. Drake is an actor and his assistant is Charlotte, and Charlotte had been working for Drake for 3 years, and Charlotte just like felt this instant connection with him, and she's like, oh my gosh, I love him. They get snowed in at an inn, and then they cross that line of being assistant and boss, and they cross a line, and then it's 6 years later. Charlotte now owns the inn with her sister Izzy, and Charlotte has a child, and Drake is coming back to the inn. So it's kind of like a second chance romance, even though they were never romantically involved in the first place. It was just like a one weekend, one night thing, and years later. So you get single parent trope in this, you get One of Us is Famous, you get small town. So cute, exactly what I wanted, quick, easy read. At first I was a little annoyed because like By a Thread, where the guy is in his 40s and I'm like, just go to therapy to solve all your daddy issues. I felt the same way when I started reading this book, because Drake has like familial issues and especially daddy issues, and he's afraid of being too real and too human and having too many feelings. And I was like, oh my god, get over yourself and just go to therapy. I'm like, you're in your 40s, man, come on. But I got a little less annoyed throughout the book, and I thought Charlotte was a cute character. It was just a sweet read and like family connection and like, you know, being there for each other. I loved that. It also talks about like there's a little magic at the inn where it's like, you know, soulmates and stuff. So it was just really sweet. And then right after I finished that, I wanted to read the next book, which is about Izzy, who owns the inn with Charlotte. Izzy was married for 15 years, and before her and Charlotte bought the inn, her husband divorced her kind of out of the blue. She didn't see it coming and didn't really have a reason why. So Izzy's single and she's 40, and you have Patrick coming to stay at the inn with his 2 children. Patrick and his 2 children just had a hell of a year. Patrick's wife had passed away, so Izzy is a divorcee and Patrick is a widower, and they had met 20 years ago. Izzy was visiting a friend's house during winter break from college, and her and Patrick had met, spent 3 weeks together over the holidays, and then Izzy left and they had never spoken to each other again. So now it's 20 years later. Izzy is a divorcee, Patrick is a widower with 2 children, and Patrick is staying at this inn that Izzy owns. And they have to do this fake engagement ruse to make sure the press does not know about Charlotte and Drake's wedding. Since Drake is such a huge movie star, they want to protect their small, quaint, intimate wedding. So Izzy tells the paparazzi that she's the one actually getting married and Patrick is her fiance. So they're putting on this ruse, and it was so cute. Like, this exactly what I wanted to read. A fast, happy little romance book. I recommend them. There's no spice in these. They're on Kindle Unlimited too, and I read each book in like a day and a half, so recommend just for a nice quick read. Very good palate cleanser to get through. So those are all the books I read this month. I hope you guys either got some recommendations or leave me some recommendations down below of what you read in February, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day. Bye! Oh my god, my leg is asleep.